Hi, I'm Greg Dell with Dell Disability Lawyers, joined by attorney Alex Palamara, and we're going to talk about one of Alex's resolved cases against New York Life. And Alex, this was a great victory that you had, and formerly a Cigna denial. What Cigna got acquired by New York Life probably 2 years ago now, and now everything is basically New York Life. But in these videos, we like to talk about why the claim was denied, what you did to get the claim reversed, and then provide some tips along the way that can help people to both avoid denial and hopefully win an appeal if they do get denied. So let's hear about the facts of this case.
So our now client was a registered nurse. She worked for the Martin Memorial Health System, which is actually a health system in Florida. So she worked for a big hospital chain or hospital company, health system, and she worked there for decades. I mean, she worked there since at least the 90s. Consistently a hard worker, never took days off. Over the course of years, pain started afflicting her. She started suffering from back issues, heel issues, osteoarthritis, neuropathy, and then last thing was an ulnar nerve issue that led to issues with her wrist. So all added up to the point that in October of 2018, she had to stop working. There was just no way that she could safely treat her patients any longer. It was putting her patients at risk. Thankfully, the Martin Memorial Health System provides its employees with disability insurance coverage. And this long-term disability insurance policy is with, Life Insurance Company of New York, Life Insurance Company of North America, also known as Cigna, now known as New York Life, an insurance company with many names, but now it's New York Life, as you said earlier. And thankfully, she applied for benefits, and within a few weeks of applying for benefits, they actually approved this claim. So I have to give them credit here that Cigna did approve the claim pretty quickly. She received benefits for 2 years, and at the 2-year mark is when they deny this claim, like they do a lot of these claims.
Okay, why is it common to see claims denied at 2 years?
So as you'll see in most group disability insurance policies, I'd say almost all of them, not all of them, but almost all of the policies nowadays have what's known as a change in definition of disability. So for the first 2 years, it's a little bit easier to qualify for disability benefits because the only thing you have to prove is that you're unable to perform the duties of your own occupation. So if her occupation was a registered nurse, typically a light or medium level occupation, if she proves that she doesn't have the physical or mental capabilities of performing that job, benefits are going to be approved.
Right.
But at the 24-month mark, it gets a little bit more difficult. At that point, you have to be unable to perform the duties of any occupation. Any occupation is typically considered to be a sedentary job by most insurance companies. And the other thing you have to take into consideration is the fact that any occupation under most policies is typically a job that's going to pay you 60% of your prior monthly earnings. So if you're making a job, if you're working for a job that's paying you $100,000 a year, any occupation is going to be one that pays you only $60,000 a year. So it actually opens up the book for the insurance company to find more jobs that they think that the person is capable of performing. If they find a job that they think that you're capable of performing, they're going to deny your claim. So the key is to prevent this denial by giving as much medical information and vocational information as you possibly can to prevent a denial from coming. But unfortunately for this registered nurse, a denial did come, even though she actually did a pretty good job of supporting her case prior to the denial. But sometimes there's nothing that you can do, when dealing with these insurance companies.
So what was the basis of their denial?
So 2 things. They did a medical a medical director review. So basically a doctor employee of the insurance company performed a review of the records, found that there was not enough here to show that she can't do a sedentary job. But secondly, what they did here was they did an independent medical examination. Now, they used a doctor by the name of Daniel Gerstenblitt, who's a very known doctor.
Daniel who?
Gerstenblitt. I see his name all the time for claimants in the southern Florida area, Orlando and South. I see his name a lot. I've reviewed many of his different independent medical examinations that he's performed. And lo and behold, I see a lot of denials based on justification of his reviews or his examinations. And the same thing was done here. The insurance company thought they were justified in denying this case based on this IME report. And the IME report just did not add up. When our now client came to me, she told me what happened. She told me what she's suffering from. And I said, this doesn't add up. I got a copy of the claim file from the insurance company. I found a copy of Dr. Gerstenblitt's report. And it said that she could sit full-time, unrestricted, and that she could perform fine manipulation full-time. And I said to myself, this lady with her ulnar nerve issues, with her complaints of wrist pain, with her carpal tunnel syndrome, with her results of ultrasounds, results of x-rays, results of MRIs of her back, spine, and wrist, everything.
Which have been going on for multiple years.
Multiple years. I go, this does not make sense, does not add up.
This IME, was it an actual exam?
Actual exam, a mere moments though, a couple of minutes. It was not like this doctor spent hours with her. And I'm not going to call out Dr. Gerstenblitt. Most of these IMEs that these insurance companies rely upon are the same thing. They're just
But why don't you want to call him out?
Well, I guess I am in a way,
okay.
but they're kind of just fraudulent situations. They're spending mere moments.
Whatever.
With these
He's a hired gun that everyone
gun.
expects, and whether or not he's a good doctor or not, we don't know. I don't even know if he practices medicine at this point. He may just do these exams, which a lot of older doctors do as a retiree thing to bring in additional income, but they know who's paying them. They want to keep getting business, and they figure if they give back a result that says the person doesn't have restrictions, limitations, and they're likely to get hired again.
Right. Or sometimes maybe they overlooked medical records. I don't know, but this situation, he overlooked certain things. So I did an appeal to challenge this. My appeal focused on a few things. It showed the holes in the medical director's review. It showed the holes in Dr. Gerstenblatt's IME report, and I plugged those holes with the medical evidence that we had in file. We also had the results of a functional capacity evaluation, where an independent, neutral physical therapist stated that our client had a below sedentary work capacity. And also, the last thing that's pretty noteworthy is the fact that the Social Security Administration found our client to be disabled years prior, still paying her benefits, so they found that she couldn't do any substantial gainful activity. So we had all this in our arsenal, and I said, you guys made an incorrect choice here. There's no justification for this denial. I know you think you're justified based on this IME report, but you're not, and here's why you're not. And within, I think, about 35 days of filing the appeal, our client's back on claim.
Yeah, it's a great victory because a lot of people think they don't have a good chance to win if an independent, well, they call it independent, but really it should be called a compulsory medical exam because a claimant's obligated to show up at this exam. And the insurance companies get even more confident when they have one of these examinations because they think, oh, we acted reasonably because we just had a doctor look at the claimant. But as you know, it's not enough to just have this doctor do a nonsense 5-minute, 10-minute examination without really understanding the extent of the medical records and then applying that to the occupational duties that a person must be able to perform in order to not be eligible for benefits. So it was great that you won this, but I think you also mentioned the functional capacity exam. When was that done, and what is that?
Well, it's physical functional testing, typically performed by a physical therapist. Now, I can't even take credit for this. My client, realizing a denial was coming, actually had this done a few days after the change in definition of disabilities, actually before the initial denial. So they actually had, so Cigna / New York Life had this report prior to the denial. Why was it ignored? I have no idea. I pointed that out in my appeal. But she had this done a few days after the change in definition of disability, because oftentimes the insurance company will say, if you do it 6 months later, well, that's not contemporaneous with the time period that we're denying the claim. So, and it's like, sometimes I make the argument like, so you're saying that she predicted the fact that she was going to become more disabled later on? It's kind of a BS excuse. But in this situation, they couldn't even challenge the timing of this FCE because it was within 2 days of the change in definition of disability that we had objective independent evidence showing that our client had a below than sedentary work capacity. So we just had so much in our arsenal, and the insurance company overlooked so much that it kind of made my appeal pretty easy. It was a very long appeal because I had so many different arguments to make here.
But it's really scary, especially when we represent a lot of medical professionals, and clearly a registered nurse is a medical professional and working in a hospital environment, that someone at Cigna saying, no, you're fine, go back and treat all of these patients in the hospital. When people are in the hospital, they're there for critical care reasons. They're there because they need so much care that they can't be taken care of at home. And yet this person's saying, I don't think I can even take care of myself to take care of the other patients. So what happens now if this registered nurse makes a mistake in the hospital because she needed to go lay down for a half hour, she needed to take pain meds, she couldn't show up when a patient called for her? Is New York Life going to be responsible for the mistakes or errors that she makes if she were to go back to the job because they said she could?
Unfortunately, no. There's no liability to them if that were to happen. It's bad karma for sure. I mean, maybe for these employees of of the insurance company for denying these type of claims, but unfortunately there's no liability. There's nothing that can be done. We could not, the person who's injured by our client, if she had to return to work, could not sue the insurance company,
Right.
could not sue New York Life saying it's your fault that this person was treating me.
So it just goes to show how ridiculous it is, because
Right.
New York Life has nothing to lose by saying, oh, go back to work. And not that they have nothing to lose. Obviously, we can sue them, and there's provisions for attorney's fees if you prevail. But unfortunately, with ERISA, which this claim is governed by, there's no punitive damages against them. There's no compensatory damages for the inconvenience to the claimant. So the system's a little broken in the sense that the insurance company doesn't fear denying a claim because the consequences are limited. Sure, they may have to pay us tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in attorney's fees, but when you're New York Life making over $1 billion a year, you don't really care if you're going to pay the lawyer $100,000, and as an insurance company, you get to keep the money while the client isn't getting paid. So, luckily we feel good about being able to represent claimants against these companies and act quickly. And as you said, how many days was it after you submitted this appeal?
35 days.
So it was actually that's a very quick turnaround, and by being successful in the appeal, it avoided the need for a subsequent lawsuit, which then can drag on for 6 months to 2.5 years, as you know, unfortunately. So congratulations on a great victory against New York Life, and now I know you'll continue to represent our client, a registered nurse, moving forward, because clearly she doesn't believe she has the ability to go back to work. So if you're someone out there who has a former Cigna policy or a current New York Life long-term disability policy, feel free to reach out to Alex, myself, any of our disability lawyers. No matter where you live in the country, we're available to assist you, and we always provide an initial free phone consultation. Hi, I'm Gregory Dell, the managing attorney of Dell Disability Lawyers, and I hope you find the video you just watched helpful. We put these videos out all of the time, and we'd love if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel. Beyond our videos on our YouTube channel, we also have lots of information available on our website at diattorney.com, and we encourage you to come to our website. The goal is that we want you to be educated about the disability insurance process, and when you get to our website, you'll see that we have information all about your specific disability insurance company, your occupation, and your medical condition. And we've designed our website such that you can easily search our website to find things that you may specifically be looking for. Now, at our website, we have thousands and thousands of pages of information, hundreds of videos that you can search, plus we're building a section of reviews of all the disability insurance companies, and we have the Ask Our Lawyer section where you can go ahead and ask us any questions that you may have. Now, we realize that you may not need us right now, but you may need us in the future to help you with your disability claim, and we think one of the best ways to keep in touch is by clicking the button below and subscribing to our channel. And most importantly, again, no matter where you live in the country, we're always available. Just go ahead and give us a call. We're happy to discuss your claim and let you know immediately if we can help you.